Welcome to Connecting Communities. I'm your host, Nancy Bacci. With me today is Jessica Alter, the city's new LGBTQ liaison. Welcome, Jess.
Nancy.
We are so thrilled to have someone of your energy and excitement in the position. It is great to have you on board.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time to come on today to share a little bit about yourself, the position, and your connection with Somerville.
My pleasure.
Excellent. So if we could start, perhaps a little bit about your background and education.
Absolutely. So my first introduction to Somerville was actually as a student at Tufts University a very long time ago. Since that time, I've lived in Somerville at various points, most recently for about the last 10 years. I have my master's in education as well, and when I'm not the LGBTQ liaison, I'm also a public school teacher.
That is wonderful. An interesting juxtaposition of roles as well.
It is. It is. I feel like it allows me to really explore interests that are wide and varied that I have.
I'm always fascinated when we hear people who come to this area for school and then decided to stay. As someone who's grown up around here, it seems very interesting to me that people go to school so far away and then would relocate their lives. So you started at Tufts and just fell in love with Somerville?
I did. I fell in love with Somerville, and there are brief stints in other neighborhoods, but mostly Somerville.
We won't talk about that.
And I just loved Boston and the surrounding areas. I loved the culture, the communities, and it really felt like home from the first time I was here, and now it absolutely is many, many years later.
It's nice. It's a place you've chose to raise your family. It's nice to see that what initially drew you here is still keeping you around.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So as we know, you had been on the Somerville Commission for Women for quite a period of time as well, so it was nice to have that level of connection, which I'm sure increased your familiarity with the city and workings of government as well.
It did, absolutely. So especially as co-chair of the commission, I was able to meet so many people within the city and other organizations that the city partners with, and I feel like it gave me a sense of local government in a way that I never had before, and I became really interested and wanted to continue to work more within the city, and so that role was wonderful. It's an amazing commission, and I'm still like to peek in on what they're doing every now and then.
That's true. Once you're a part of it, you never really quite disassociate with it. So what drew your interest in becoming the LGBTQ liaison? What was exciting about the position?
So I was on the commission and I heard about the position, and I, as a member of the LGBTQ community, I have always been interested in LGBTQ issues, and I believe, Somerville is an amazing city, and having the ability to really serve the community members within Somerville, Somerville community members and LGBTQ community members just seemed like the perfect dovetailing, and I was interested in the position because it was within the city, but it was also serving all of the community members.
I think that's one of the really nice mixes about this position. I mean, we know it's a very limited part-time position. We're very fortunate. A lot of communities don't have that sort of staff dedicated to this.
True.
And I think when we think of why we still want to be in Somerville, right? All the important things that the city stands for, the welcoming atmosphere, the sense of everybody belongs here. Everybody who wants to be here has a way to belong and feel connected here. So, as I said, this is a part-time position, but we value it immensely. And finding someone who has the skills to navigate it is very important. And I think you touched on briefly the sense of it's working for the government, and that has its benefits and definitely a vantage point, but really connecting with the community, I think, is important too. When we start thinking of topical issues, areas of concern, you've been on the job just for a little bit. And we do like to get people on board and bring them right in and just kind of see how that unravels. But thinking of issues that are important in some of the interactions you've had with community members, and in a little bit we'll touch upon some events and some organizations that you've worked with. But just thinking of that and kind of with your own lens as well coming into the position, what issues do you feel are important to talk about, important to raise people's awareness of?
Well, I think it's really important in my role. I feel like one of the most important things is to be a resource for community members. So whether they're a member of the LGBT community or they're a family member, a friend, and they're looking to support somebody, they can get in touch with me, and I have a list of resources, and I hopefully can connect them to people. I like to think of sort of I'm a connector of different organizations, different people. So that's really important. I think currently, as you said, Somerville is such a welcoming community and everybody feels like they belong. And I think continuing that feeling and making sure that all of our community members feel that way is really vital to the role. And you know, some of the protections that that have been in place, I think it's really important for us to continue to be supportive of those.
I think that's important to touch upon. You know, we look at the city and it's changing minute to minute. I mean, we can't even really say last year, this year. It's like 20 minutes ago, this was one thing, and you know, just kind of the influx of new residents, particularly now with school starting in session, and we have a lot of the students moving in and new families enrolling in the public school system. And the energy level definitely feels on the rise in September. I'm certain as a public school teacher, you definitely feel maybe energy rising is being very optimistic, but there's probably a lot of influx things happening at that point. And as we think of that, as new residents take their place within our city, we want to make certain that people really do understand, you know, we don't simply hang a banner saying you're welcome here. We really mean everyone is welcome here. So positions such as yours is so important to make certain that community members are aware that this does serve as a resource. And I love the fact that you refer to yourself as a connector, because I think that's so important as we start thinking through opportunities to engage with the community and realizing, you know, as progressive as everyone feels they are in a lot of views, someone who is coming out to a family member or someone who is experiencing bullying because of their sexual orientation, there are all of these situations that can happen, and people are looking for resources to deal with that. So sometimes it's referral, as you said, to an organization, to a healthcare center, resource material. I mean, I think there are a lot of opportunities. And one of the things that was really exciting when you took this position is I think that your ability to kind of develop an instant rapport with people is so critical to a position such as this, because people are not coming wanting to shoot the breeze about the weather. People are coming about really serious, important, heartfelt concerns and needing to feel that there's a safe place to bring those. So I think that's so important to continue to let people know that you are sitting in that space, you are sited down at the annex, there is a way to make the connection.
Absolutely. And if they can't make it to the annex or call me, they can always reach out to me via email or our Facebook page as well. Multiple ways to reach me.
Yeah, I think that's important too. I know as we continue to talk about social media, so many people, and I know sometimes I'm of an age now where I've heard of young people get their information that way, but I feel like everybody is getting their information because it's so instantaneous.
It is.
So really seeing, you know, the opportunities to share resources in a way that people are utilizing technology for just everyday events. So having that just become an automatic, let's look at the Facebook page and see what new information is out there. So I think it's important to embrace that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we use the Facebook page to promote our events, also to promote other organizations' events. The Council on Aging has some wonderful LGBTQ events, and we post those as well, just to sort of keep everybody in the loop.
Right. I think too, as we had referenced, so you came on board the end of May, I want to say, potentially. And as we like to do, we had some big events coming up as soon as everybody got on board. I had Matt Mitchell on last month, and we had just started him, and then he had National Night Out 10 days later. So we like to really put staff to the test as soon as we get them on board. So you came on board towards the end of May, and as we know, June is Pride Month.
Yes.
So while you serve as a resource all the time, June is really a time to focus and for the city to host events and activities that really bring the attention to the LGBTQ population and really have a time to shine. So we did have a couple of things that happened. We had the Big Gay Dance Party, or as I call it, the Bigger Gayer Dance Party, because this is the second year of that. It is in coordination with the Somerville Arts Council, and Nina Eichner does an amazing job of pulling all of that together. But it's an event that started in 2017, hosted down in Union Square in the Plaza area, and just a huge dance party. Music, drag queens, so much energy and excitement, family friendly, tabling information available, lots of activities. We've offered private HIV testing, lots of just ways for people to come out, embrace the just joy of being outside, having this great time with the music, but also another opportunity to find out information, learn about a resource you didn't know.
Absolutely.
So what did you think of that as kind of your entree into?
Well, June was a really big month to start. And so I had been to the big gay dance party in its inaugural year and was very excited for the event and was very happy that the Arts Council was pretty much taking the helm on that, because I walked right in and was like, oh! It was amazing, and it was amazing to see the turnout. We were a little unsure. There was some rain earlier in the day, but then the turnout was just incredible. And I loved seeing, I think you touched on this, the variety of people. So, when it starts around 5 p.m., it's all the families and their kids, and they're all there dancing. And as the evening progresses, they kind of go home, and then people pre-going out come. And it was just, the energy was fantastic. It was truly seeing people from Somerville across the board, just having a good time and celebrating, and that was wonderful. It's a great Pride event, I think, because it draws so many people from so many different corners of Somerville.
It was really interesting, both last year and this year, having the opportunity to speak with community members. And I remember last year actually being like moved to tears by speaking to these two women who, I hate to guesstimate age, but older women. Who were out there dancing, having the best time, had worn these like really amazing hats. And I didn't get a chance to see if they come back this year, but got the chance to speak with them last year. And they were just like, we could not have imagined, 30, 40 years ago when we had to identify as roommates, that we would ever be able to be out here like holding hands, wearing these amazing matching hats, and just having this great time. And everybody here is feeling the same energy. Everybody here is just like, it's an amazing event to happen. And it's not an LGBTQ specific event. It's a community event. So you come out if you're a member of the LGBT community, you come out if you're a resident, you come out if you're interested in music. It just had all of this different energy going with it. And then again this year, being able to kind of walk through the crowd and talk with people and spend sometimes chatting with families. And there was one family there who had a little boy, and they had made him a homemade shirt. And he was probably maybe 2 or 3 months old, and he was like, my first LGBTQ event. And it was just adorable. Like, they had made a little rainbow on his belly, and it was just like, cute. Here you are. This is Somerville. This is the place we want to be.
Right. I think a lot of people think Pride and they think Boston, and Boston Pride is an amazing event.
Yes.
Boston does a great job. There is something really special, though, about having your own event in your own city.
It's more
as
intimate.
Well. Yeah, it's your neighborhood. And the fact that Somerville is so supportive and puts on these types of events is just amazing.
Yeah,
so
it is really great.
Yeah.
So we had that the first Saturday in June, which for people to note, we will be doing going forward. First Saturday of June.
Bigger, gayer.
I don't know what other adjectives
I don't know. We don't
want
to get to the biggest or gayest because it's going to keep going. So,
and then we had the Pride flag raising, which is a partnership with the Gay Straight Alliance under the direction of Sarah Eustace at the high school and the amazing students. And talk a little bit about that, because this was like your first week of work.
It was, and it's, in my role as a teacher, I'm very comfortable working in schools, and a part of what drew me to this position, going back a question, is that I would be working closely with the GSA, and so this was sort of the first opportunity, and they were so excited. Again, rain, but they stuck it out, and it was so important that we had a student speaker, Sam, in the pouring rain, and Mayor Curtatone made a speech, and it was just, again, that feeling of living in a community that values Gay Pride flag up and keeping it up for the entire month of June. I think it sends a huge message to all of the community members and everybody who knows or sees it, and and it's a great kickoff to the start of Pride Month.
It definitely. I think that maybe I had deliberately blocked out the rain memory until you just mentioned it, and coincidentally, it's also raining today as we're taping this.
It is.
But that was really, I think it speaks to the passion and dedication of the people that were there, because it wasn't like it rained. It rained.
Right.
And no one left.
Nope.
No one left. The police in attendance stayed. Mayor Curtatone, as you said, spoke. In an event like that, it's so important to hear from the students. And all of the student speaker, Sam, and all of the people who came out in support just stayed in absolute downpour rain. where I think at one point you could read notes anymore and had to ad-lib because
Yeah.
it just it wasn't possible.
Yeah.
But just to see that, it is so important, and it's on City Hall concourse, and just I try to imagine what that's like if I was a student at the high school and seeing that when you walk in every day and knowing
Right.
this, whether you are a member of the LGBTQ population or not, this is everybody is welcome. And to have that is such an important message as you go into a school, which we know has so many ups and downs, just navigating who you are at that age, and then to realize that there is this entire body who just supports you.
Absolutely. Yeah. The symbolism is very important. Yeah.
I also wanted to touch upon, we had hosted in conjunction with other organizations a Suited premiere.
Yes.
So for people who aren't familiar, can you talk a little bit about that movie? Also,
Absolutely.
incredibly touching.
Amazing. So we had a showing of the film Suited at the Somerville Theater, and Suited is the story of Bindle and Keep. They are clothiers in Brooklyn who make custom-made clothing, mostly suits, for gender non-conforming individuals. And it is just an incredible documentary. You see multiple stories, really personal stories of various individuals who have come to them for different big life events and who want to feel good in the clothes that they wear when most of the time they don't. And we had fantastic, once again, really great turnout for that. A wonderful panel discussion afterwards, and so that was our sort of our finale Pride event month. They closed the month out, and it was a really special evening and event and film to see. And if anybody hasn't seen it, they should see it.
That's what I was just going to say. I think of the partnership with Somerville Media Center and just really the amazingness of it, I guess, because I had, watched a little promo of it before to just kind of get an idea what it was going to be like. But then to really watch the stories come alive, and you said there were several, vignettes throughout it, and understanding so many different perspectives. And I think I had such respect for all of the participants for the level of honesty that was captured, on such a topic so personal to everyone who was filmed, and really their willingness to just lay bare to the bone all of their emotions. And, as I think back and remember the different parts of it, you had family members who were clearly feeling different levels of support for their child and were completely open about that, and not in a way of trying to apologize for it, in a real way of saying, I'm trying to navigate this, because I think one gentleman articulated it well, which is, my child is my child is my child. There is blanket support for that, but also trying to understand, what did that feel like for him when your child is saying, I now identify with a different gender? And really understanding what that entails. And then something so basic, as you and I had talked before, just having clothes that fit well and look good and make you feel part of instead of not a part of, which was very well articulated throughout that movie.
Right, and also the way they structure the clothing to highlight the parts of a person's body that they want to highlight. So if they want to look more masculine, sort of cutting the suit in such a way that the hips are diminished, and all of that is so important. And because I think in one of the vignettes they talked about that in his wedding suit he didn't want anybody to be looking at him and thinking thinking that he wasn't a man, and that it's so important. And so it was a wonderful movie.
Yeah, I think too, and you highlighted that one on what is one of the most important days of your life, and having that as a concern that would have to be addressed if they hadn't made the connection with this amazing company who removed that worry. And just then you're in the moment and you're thinking about marrying the person you love the most, and not, as you said, like how your hips are going to look in the photos. Just understanding. That was an amazing opportunity. So when we think of what we encompassed in Pride Month, it really
it was a lot. June was very busy. July started and I was like, oh, what now?
Now we start looking for next year.
Exactly. So,
and I know some ideas that we've talked about too, the potential of partnering with the library, perhaps an author of book series, really highlighting an existing resource. We have an amazing library system.
We do.
Every opportunity I get, I will promote the library.
Yes.
It's amazing when you go up there and see what people are doing. So, I mean, I'm going in to check out a book, but there are people applying for jobs online and people who are looking up apartment rentals and, just all of these things.
Oh, yeah.
And to see that, I mean, our library, you can check out a guitar and a bird watching kit and all of
I
these
had no idea. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, see, I like when people learn new things.
Yeah,
so there are
that's
musical
amazing.
instruments that you can check out.
That's
Bird
fantastic.
watching,
Yeah.
all of these things beyond, a reference book.
Yes.
With that being said, our reference librarians are amazing and know,
Yes.
more than we could ever hope to. But seeing that, so if people are getting used to going into the libraries in order to gain new information, it seems like a very nice partnership. So I know we're hoping
does.
to flesh that out as well.
We are.
as
We're
we go.
thinking, especially in the winter months when people want to be home and reading more. And we've looked at, possibly on the teen side, the adult side, or crossing, choosing something that crosses ages. And so, yeah, it would be, that's in the works.
I see. It'll be busy
Yeah.
again. I did want to circle back a bit. You had referenced the Council on Aging.
Yes.
So the work with them and then the GSA as well. So.
Yeah, so the GSA school has just gotten started, and they're very excited, and they have a lot of great ideas for this year. And it's always really amazing to work with high school students and their energy and their ideas, and seeing them come to fruition. I think it's an amazing journey, and to watch them feel that sense of pride. The Somerville High students last year made the Queerville t-shirts, which were very popular.
They're such an amazing group of young people.
They really are.
And we think even that of like societal change. So we don't have a king and queen at the prom. You have a royalty couple.
Right, exactly.
So just that sense of
Yeah.
everyone belongs. I know
Definitely.
it's a recurring theme, but it is just so important to highlight.
And so the GSA partners with us on a lot of our events. They actually partnered with us on the Suited screening. They'll likely partner with us on the library, anything that we do with the library. And then the Council on Aging has an LGBTQ lunch every month. They have LGBTQ exercise classes. And again, it doesn't only have to be seniors who identify as LGBTQ. In fact, we're talking about actually in the coming months, they have the senior movies at the theater, at the Somerville Theater, and we're talking about having an LGBTQ focused movie, but for the community at large.
Right.
And so it's really, I love the fact that I get to work with sort of both ends of the spectrum, and really get to know community members that I honestly probably would not have met. So going to the lunches and meeting some of the people who come to the Council on Aging for the lunches has been fantastic, and I feel it was great. It was great to meet people that I would not normally get to know in that way in my daily routine.
And I think it's important, again, for people to know that you're here serving as a resource. So really understanding what your role entails in the way of making the connections. Like you said, the work with the GSA is great because you have that energy of the young people. And then as you connect with the Council on Aging members, really hearing from them, it just gives you such a different perspective.
Completely.
I mean, again, understanding for people who have in the past felt that they've been forced to live their life one way and then come to an age of a different sort of acceptance in society and just be able to live in a whole other way. And, you see them coming there. And I'm amazed by some of these seniors because they get out more than you and I do.
They are so busy. One handed me the list of all the places he goes, and I was just like, how do you get to all of these places each week?
It really is amazing sometimes when you just
Very
realize that. So it seems like you've had a great launch coming into your position, and we look forward to more things coming up. Did you have any closing thoughts?
I just am, the more I get into the position and the more relationships that I build, I feel like it's sort of both ways. I'm a connector, and I'm going to help people and be a resource, but I'm also learning a tremendous amount, and I feel really fortunate to be able to do that and to meet the people that I'm meeting in this role.
Great. Well, thank you so much again for coming on, sharing a bit of information. And if people are looking for you, they can certainly visit you at the Annex, look you up on the city website, find out any and all information they're looking for.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for watching. As always, I'd like to thank the production crew, Joe Constantine, George Wood, and Lenny Scaletta. Thank you.